RuuhRow Russell, what are we doing today on the broadcast?
Dooby Scooby Doo. I don't know. What's up, dude?
Scooby Doo, where are you?
We can't sing too much. Man, I'm good. I'm really excited about this episode.
I know. This was your
spooky episode.
Oh, Halloween special. We're gonna do Scooby Doo Zombie Island, guys.
Yeah, man. We're talking about one of my favorite childhood cartoons that was so funny. Like I loved like looking back at this and I was like, why is it? I mean, I remember one of the moments where my dad was just like, this is a show that I loved from my childhood, and it came back in a big way early 90s with Pup Named Scooby Doo and then the like direct to DVD movies. Like this was the first one that they did.
Yeah, it was. It was like I remember. I mean, I read up on it a little bit, not as much as you did, and it was like a big deal. Like this was like a big movie release Scooby Doo movie.
I think they put a lot of money in it.
Yeah,
like I really do. I think I saw 50 mil, but that could have just been on marketing. I don't know. And don't even quote me on that. Just look it up if you're interested. But I was like, man, like I think they put a lot of time and money into this. Not like as much as like an actual like release in the movie theaters movie, but for what it was, this was a big deal. And it was like a big like turn from your typical Scooby Doo, which we'll get into later, like your typical storylines, and then also from like it being super child friendly and all. And this is a child friendly movie, but it's dark sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot. And
I was scared as a
mentioned
kid.
It that this was like darker in terms of like the real monsters. And like the zombies and the cat ladies, they're getting very like voodoo, very like there's real demon-y worship things going on here.
There was a period probably, if this had come out a little earlier in the 90s, the whole anti-Pokemon, anti-Yu-Gi-Oh faction of the Christian whatever mothers or fathers or whatever that group was would be super against
if there was
like
actually
this.
Parent blogs about Scooby-Doo.
There might have been, man.
I don't know.
There might have been. Who knows? But maybe not because they grew up with it, so they're like, oh, it's innocent, or whatever. But yeah, I just know a lot of it's every now and then I'll come across one where a friend will be like, I wasn't allowed to watch that as a kid, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah. Well, that's a good lead into my first point about my relationship with Scooby Doo.
Yeah, I'm super curious because you did say it was a cop out, just like a Scooby Doo ending on episode 26 of our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And to that, I just wanted to mention, how dare you, sir,
slander the name of Scooby Doo?
How dare you, sir? Yeah. What's your relationship?
Well, that was the funny part about this one for me, was that growing up, because there was so many rough things on Cartoon Network, like Ren and Stimpy, and even getting into like the Billy and Mandy and the Ed and Eddies and the Dexter's Lab. There were so many things.
Gosh, so many of those are so good.
They're so good, but my parents didn't like it. So they, at some point when we had to have been like 4 or 5, were like, no Cartoon Network, because that's where we don't want you watching.
But how long did that last for?
Well,
when could you start
never
watching that?
Said a specific time. So the good lesson for parents, like if you put rules on stuff, like make sure that you follow up, because I finally got to a point where Tom and Jerry started playing it like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Saturday. And I would watch so much Tom and Jerry because I was like, there's no way.
That's rough.
I'm not allowed to watch this. Like there's no way. And probably right around the time when I started watching things on Cartoon Network that were like recent releases was when Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends came out.
Yes. Sorry, that was like my favorite show.
Yeah, and that was an awesome show. And I was like, okay, this is a show that like I'm saying I can watch this show. But that means right around that time, I'm pretty sure is when they really did move Flintstones, Jetsons, Scooby Doo over to like the Boomerang Network, which was like a whole different channel, Yeah,
and actually it was even earlier than that Scooby Doo got onto Cartoon Network. When Cartoon Network was just forming, I have notes on this somewhere, but Ted Turner essentially bought the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, like and like it was like 1990 or 91.
I think you said 92.
92? Okay. So he bought all that. And because Scooby Doo, they had so many episodes of Scooby Doo, and Scooby Doo came about after a lot of those Hanna-Barbera shows kind of got canceled in a sense in the late 70s or whatever. Or no, it might have been before that. When did Scooby Doo come out, man? I have the premiere date somewhere around here. 69. So in the mid 60s, a lot of those shows were getting canceled because they were so violent. Like Johnny Quest and all that stuff was like guns and, murder, whatever. There was like this cat. Actually, that was in the 90s. I'm getting my timelines confused. But anyway,
there's a lot of cartoons to keep up with.
Scooby Doo premiered, or whatever. The Scooby Doo Where Are You in 1969. And that was after a lot of the more violent shows that got canceled. And so when in the 90s, when Ted Turner formed Cartoon Network, this like idea of like a 24-hour cartoons only, channel, people thought they were crazy. But fortunately, they had shows like Scooby Doo, Where Are You to fill in a lot of that time. And so in the 90s, you had a resurgence of Scooby Doo and like the cultural zeitgeist or whatever, and then you had Pup Named Scooby Doo came out a little bit after that, and man, and we were 93 kids, and honestly, like I think what you were saying with the Boomerang, or whatever it was.
Yeah, when they got big enough and then they had enough of their new shows they had enough like fill time to be like, yeah, of course we'll play all Billy and Mandy and all Fosters and all whatever all day long.
Yeah, we probably saw a lot of it on Boomerang. What you're saying. But Scooby Doo, A Pup Named Scooby Doo, I definitely watched that as a really young kid. And I know they redid a lot of the Scooby Doo Where Are You in like the late 90s, early 2000s. There were one or two times where that popped back up on regular rotation. And it was like always been, Scooby Doo Where Are You has always been one of my favorite shows. Yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah, well, and that's what I thought it was a great one to jump in to like do a podcast about this because it's how the turntables here that this is a show that you've grown up watching, you've seen 1,000 times, and I'm the one that kind of is going into this movie being like, I don't know too much about Scooby Doo because it just wasn't part of a childhood.
Yeah,
rotation.
We didn't even get to what is your relationship with Scooby Doo?
Well, there is none. That's what I'm saying. I've seen some episodes here and there, but it never was on a TV rotation in my house ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, you've got the Adventure Time tattoo, and I don't have a Scooby Doo tattoo, but what I do have, and I can neither confirm or deny this, there might be a Scooby Doo bedsheet in my room. That's not on my bed. It is, but it's like protecting my mattress from the like springs or whatever. I don't know. We don't need to go into the setup of my bedroom, but there might be a Scooby Doo bed sheet in my room still. Yeah, and it was so funny. Actually, my coworkers, one of them doesn't know that much about me or whatever, and for my birthday, 2019 was like, what do we do for Russell's birthday? And there was always themes, and they go all out in the office. And one time I had a really passionate Scooby Doo rant. And because of that, I had a whole Scooby Doo birthday party theme at my work. And
that's a great theme for a birthday, though.
Yeah, but also like as a 26-year-old man at the time, I'm like, I don't want this. Or a 25-year-old man, I'm like, like I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to like impress people and be like in the industry or whatever. And then people walk up and there's Scooby Doo all over my desk.
That's fun though. I think that's the keeping you young.
I guess so.
Keep you young when you get old.
Man, there's something I learned today just to get back on this topic and not just Scooby Doo in general. Actually, really, I did want to mention that the early like the crazy. Did you ever get to see the goofy guests that were on Scooby Doo? Like right after the Scooby Doo, Where Are You? The like second iteration of Scooby Doo.
Where there was like Harlem Globetrotters and like all different kind of like.
I was wondering if you had a favorite guests. One. Yeah,
no, because I really I know I've seen like snippets of the Harlem Globetrotters episodes.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think that was probably my favorite. I was like, man, like Kiss, Batman and Robin, Don Knotts, Harlem Globetrotters, and Weird Al were the ones that stuck out to me. I've never seen the Weird Al episode, but I might have to go look that up.
That's got to be a deep cut one.
I just got to be more modern. It's got to be way more modern, obviously, because he wasn't
It's probably a little bit more racy too, I would imagine.
Maybe. It wasn't even happening in the 70s, so whenever Weird Al got to start. But yeah, man. And also the show, they were developed as a rock band. That's something else I found really. This is Russell's Factoids.
I read that fact too.
Isn't that crazy? Like they were like, all right, we got to have these hipster guys, and in between shows on, like as a rock band, they go and they solve mysteries while they're like in between gigs.
Yeah. Well, and think about it. If it's coming out in 69, then the premise, I mean, like that's when Summer of Love was. That's when like Jimi Hendrix and Rolling Stones and like everybody was hitting it big in the late 60s. Yeah. So that would have been like, hey, how do we make a cartoon and make it that would be relevant to the time, you know?
Yeah. Well, this week we're talking about Scooby Doo Zombie Island. Which, man, just real last fun fact. Well, actually, I got some for this movie, but it was animated by a Japanese studio. Like we were talking about, like the animation, like it's just slightly different than a typical Scooby Doo episode, and obviously more money's going into it. But my mind didn't connect the like anime-esque things about this movie, you know, and how it's fleshed out in that way. And I'm like, I think I'm slowly getting anime into this podcast, like just a little bit at a time.
I kind of noticed it in one specific point in the movie. And now that you say kind of anime, there was one point where like Bo and Daphne were like standing in front, and like behind them was like Scooby and Shaggy, and they were like faded, and then the camera like did a like focus shift, and I was like, oh, it felt like very much like a perception anime scene.
Yeah,
and I was like, so I can see that, you know.
Interestingly complex anime can be sometimes, and this movie felt that the whole time, like from the get go. You could be in a scary movie if the music was different. I think this is something that we'll touch on this episode a good bit. Is like if the music of this Scooby Doo movie was slightly different, was less, you know, Scooby Doo, you know, that sort of a thing, and was more like haunting and creepy and cracky, and
it would be a scary movie.
It would be a creepy movie.
Yeah.
You have the intro scene where the monster rips open the door, and the gang is there, frightened and terrified, and then Daphne and Velma fall off of the side of the building or whatever, and fortunately Fred grabs them both, you know, and.
Yeah, that could be scored like a very terrifying horror scene, and that's the music geek in us is like that's how powerful the score of a movie.
It could be so it could be so different. But I actually talking about that scene though, the best part about that scene was when the monster swipes at Fred and he has to let go of one of them.
Yeah, and he lets go of Velma instead.
Yeah. Let's go, Velma. It's just like, sorry.
We were starting the movie off. Me and Russell watched it together the other week, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, he just dropped her! Like he picked his favorite, you know?"
Yeah,
like, I mean, we would have all guessed that anyway.
Yeah. But I got an alternate title for this Scooby Doo Zombie Island movie.
Me.
Did you? I sent you some notes. I don't know if you read this, but I found this online. This is not something I created. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Scooby Doo and the Cat Lady, Werecat, cat god worshipping worshippers, haunted pirate ghosts, pirate ship, pirate zombies, zombie tourists, Confederate zombie soldier, infested voodoo boohoo, Boza Boo, who's got you, be afraid, be very afraid, Cat Lady got your tongue, is Velma supposed to be hot? Mystery Island.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah, just to summarize it, you know, quick title.
It probably would have been called that if that could have fit on a VHS cover in a Blockbuster. But, you know, they had to go with the short version.
Man, this movie's all over the place.
All over the place.
If
we want to simplify it, we can just call it Scooby Doo and the Louisiana stereotypes.
Yeah, but in such a great way, and everything's explained. So, I really think this movie does a great job at summarizing and wrapping things up, and it feels so in your face and so all over the place all the time. Like I remember we were watching this, and you had a moment where all of a sudden we had the zombie tourists, we had pirates, we had a Confederate soldier out of nowhere.
I think I was just like, "What's happening?"
You're like, and you and Jackie for quite a bit were just like, "What is going on?" And then all of a sudden we had voodoo dolls. And the cat god.
And I was like, it kind of comes, and watching it back over again, and you can see the lead up, and you know which characters are like good and bad and but like literally having like knowing nothing about this, kind of when that end scene happens, and then they're like, the zombies are good and the cat ladies are trying to kill us and we're wrapped up in voodoo. And I was like, if you took your eyes off this movie for a minute, you would just be so lost. You
might be a little lost, but at the end, I just feel like they wrap everything up so nicely. Like every little bit, every question you had, and there was a moment I was like, just watch, because
it was answered.
A second later, they answered it, but none of the answers to me, and I'm biased, but none of them really feel forced. Like I feel like for a movie that is all over the place, they really figured out a way to make it all technically make sense.
No, you're right in that, but I do think that the only thing that upset me that was forced was the fact that they're like, we're cat, like, because she's like the crazy cat lady, right?
Yeah.
Miss Simone is the crazy cat lady, and that is a kind of a part of the movie, that there's cats all over the house, but that kind of was it. There was no other cat isms that she did. Like, as
there are cats everywhere,
but there's cats everywhere.
Yeah,
but like, yeah,
and she
crazy cat
hates
lady.
the dog.
So there could have just been a couple. Like, if I were to be writing this movie and being clever with it or whatever, I would have thrown like little cat isms, like she hissed at Scooby Doo, or
I think that would have just been too much, because I mean, essentially they're just like werewolves. Like, werewolves aren't dogs when they're people.
But I think that was the thing I said I would think was forced when she goes and does the backstory and like explains to them. She's like, we settled on this island and we worshipped our cat gods. And I was like, wait, hold on, wait, like, where in the hell does this come from, that there are American settlers that were just like,
cat dog,
screw the church, we worship a cat god? And I'm like, there could have just been at least another 20 seconds of explanation of like this subset of a church in New Orleans.
But did you need that? I don't think we needed all that.
We didn't
she goes,
need it, but man, it would just be a little bit more satisfying to be like, the settlers, we love the cat gods. And I was like,
we look to our cat god for a bountiful harvest.
I was like, no, there was no settlers in America that were Egyptian god worshipping settlers. Like, it's just not a thing.
Scooby Doo.
I just thought it was like, that was like a thing they dropped in there real quick. And they were like, this is just the thing. And like, you accept it. It is the answer.
Well, now we're not from the bayou. We got to go talk to someone from the bayou.
What the hell's going on the
maybe
bayou?
They'll tell us what's going on in the bayou. They worship cat gods down there.
But yeah, I agree with you though. Like that was probably my only qualm. And I've got a couple other qualms, but not so like overarching over the movie.
That flashback though had the most brutal scene with the gators when the Moonscar and his pirate gang come and take over and they start killing people, and then they force all of the people that had settled there into the bayou to get
eaten by the gators,
destroyed by gators. And you literally see them cowering in the bayou, and just like the I don't know, man. I was gonna say the camera, whatever, the like drawn camera pans away, and you just see the gators just all jump in after them. And I was just like, man, brutal.
Yeah, you don't think about that because like I'm desensitized by horror movies in general. And I was like, yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, I would love, and one thing I like noted down today, I was like, I would love to see an R-rated remake of this movie.
Oh,
it would be cool. It would be good, like with no like crazy songs like we talked about, with like a true horror movie score.
I mean,
with like blood.
It's terror time again, though. You gotta have.
You can't not have his terror time.
The best part of the whole dang movie are there's two songs. I tried to find the other one on Spotify. The other main song. Maybe you just rewatched the movie today. I can't think of what it is, but it's like the one about like everyone's in a mask and everybody's fake, and that's a good song. But it's terror time. Like, dude, that song goes so hard, except for the structure of the song is terrible. It's like
it's
four
like
bars of a verse,
4 bars, 4 chorus,
and then straight to the chorus. It's like, I mean, every single time, like it's queued up 4 bars of talking or singing into it's terror time again. And I'm just like, man, that is a terrible song structure, but such a good moment when everybody, all the zombies are chasing Shaggy and Scooby, and they just got to get out of there.
I also got to think, if you were hired to write a song for a Scooby Doo movie, and the best thing you come up with is "It's Terror Time."
It's Terror Time again.
Like, you could have come up with so many, like, I don't know, even better, like, funny catchphrases to put into a song. That would have been.
What's so funny? They had actually, I really enjoyed this. Was that they had the main theme, instead of doing the, like, what is the Scooby Doo series that was a little bit more modern, whatever that theme song by, like, not the White Stripes, geez, I can't, the Plain White Tees or whatever, that theme song, instead of doing that one, they had Third Eye Blind come in and sing a cover of the original version.
I was going to point that out, that, like, kicking off the movie, it was like this fun, like, surf rock version of the Scooby Doo Where Are You theme song, and I was like, that's a fun way to kick it off, though. You know?
Yeah, it's like the original, though. Like, like, if it was not the original one, I wouldn't have liked it nearly as much as I did. You know,
but everybody, again, if we're talking about, this was a big blockbuster, like, straight to DVD, but blockbuster movie. There was a lot of money went into. That's really cool that they're, like, you know, paying homage of, like, we're still doing the OG theme song, you know?
Well, there were some other things that are from the original. Frank Welker, actually, who voiced Fred in the original series, reprised his role, which was pretty rad.
And I thought that was so interesting because he still sounds so young.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I was like, man,
he sounded great.
He must be an amazing voice actor.
I mean, I didn't write down who did Velma's voice, but this is one of my favorite iterations of Velma as well in this movie. And then Shaggy was funny because Shaggy, the original voice actor, was also supposed to reprise the role. And then supposedly he didn't want Shaggy eating meat on screen. And, like, the first scene of the movie, which also, Scooby and Shaggy are eating half the movie. Half the movie is just them chowing down. And that is a problem I have with the movie, maybe. But he's like, he's a vegetarian and he didn't want Shaggy eating any meat. And then the first scene, he's like eating some crawfish or whatever. And so they had to find a new voice actor for Shaggy.
He was like, he would totally be a vegetarian, man.
Yeah, and it was before the dude from Without a Paddle ended up doing Shaggy for, like, 13 or 14 years until they replaced him on Scoob. Not that I'm bitter about that or nothing. He should have been the voice actor on Scoob.
So, well, I'm glad you brought up food, though, because that was something I, like, was thinking about when watching this movie, is that every food that they ate looked freaking delicious.
Yeah, it did.
You know, it's like how you've seen those, like, memes and TikToks of, like, what's, like, that cartoon food that you would just, it's like especially all the sandwiches. Every sandwich in this one looks delicious. The beignets look delicious. Like,
gosh,
I was like, the animators murdered the whole, like, let's make all this food look amazing.
I know. I'm not even a big crawfish guy.
I'm not either.
I want some crawfish, man. Like,
and the peppers, like the hot peppers look delicious.
Oh, the peppers look real good. They look real good.
But
yeah, man.
But I did and going back to your other point too, because I think before we take our break real quick here, kind of just going over our thoughts and our feels of the movie before we kind of do a walkthrough and like a synopsis, but a synopsis with commentary
wherever it goes.
That I just lost my train of thought there for a second.
I don't know.
You said they were eating half the movie.
Yes,
and I was going to ask you about that because I was like, you know, they're there with the team. They're obviously like the goofballs.
Mm-hmm.
But they
Shaggy and
really,
Scooby?
Besides getting chased and eating, they almost aren't even with the group any of the time in the movie. And that kind of upset me. Like,
they do a Frodo and Sam thing the whole time.
The whole time they somehow, you know, like, they can't eat at the dinner table, so they go eat in the kitchen and in the car by themselves.
But that's like their thing. They always split up, you know, and it's always Shaggy and Scooby together.
Yeah, but it kind of, like, even weirded me out that, like, they just didn't seem like, even when they were in the room with everybody else, they didn't get any dialogue in, you know?
Yeah, well, they didn't have a chance because Simone was always just like, "Your dog.
Your dog.
You have to do something about your dog," or whatever. You know, like, she's just, like, all about getting him out of there
with her terrible French accent.
But of course, that was another issue I had, was all the accents. The fairy guy Jacques, his
Creole was
I didn't love
very
it.
Forced.
Yeah, Simone was a little forced, but I don't know.
Nina was really forced. Like,
Lena was
Talking with a
Lena was
southern
perfect.
drawl.
She was so perfect.
She was perfect. That's for sure. If we're gonna do lovelies, I already am not having an ask.
I don't have a lovely. I do have a sexy character.
Lena.
It's Bo.
Oh, Studley Bo.
Yeah, Bo, man. Detective Neville. He's a gardener with way too tatted chinos and a wife beater for half this freaking movie.
How do you go from a name like Bo and then you're like, sorry, my real name's Neville?
Yeah, yeah, Neville. I mean, that's a name you don't hear that often. But I guess so is Ned.
Yeah, it's true. I got the world's nerdiest name locked in the book.
He's great. He's played as this like red herring for the entire movie. I think it's a little dramatic. Like he comes out of nowhere several times. He's creepy, throws a rock over Velma's head, and you're like, he's about to murder Velma, and he goes into the quicksand and saves her. Yeah, but those tight pants. Yeah, I'm tell you what. Also the quicksand. I had a little note here. I think John Mulaney has a bit about quicksand.
That was something that you were so scared of as a child.
Oh, man.
Never encountered in real life.
It is so true, too. Like, I was terrified of quicksand. I really was. Because you read it, the first time I read it in a book, I was just like, what is this? It could be anywhere.
Every like childhood show had like a quicksand episode.
Yeah, you could literally just be walking on a trail.
Princess Bride is what got me on that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the quicksand scene where like she goes like,
seen it once.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen it once.
It's a good one.
I believe you. Actually, Lena was the other one that I was like, honestly, it's Lena. Lena's my sexy
She annoyed me too much again, and she butted into their conversation. Like, okay, well, I'll save this for our snack.
I've had years of practice.
You're gonna love your room, Freddie. It's where the harvest moon rises.
I hope you'll be comfortable here. She's so sexy. No, dude, she's great. The ghosts are real, of course, but if you're too scared to go, like, oh, Lena, jeez.
Oh,
my Lena, crush as a kid.
Well, that's a good place.
I'm a man.
I think we need to pin it on Russell's sexy girl voice to take a quick break. Let me recover from that for a minute. And we'll be back.
All right. See you guys.
Howdy, folks.
Oh, damn peppers.
We all pepper salesmen down at Peter Pepper's Pepper Picking Patch.
Yeah, lots of alliteration in their peppers.
We like alliteration here. You know what we got? We got the hottest peppers south of the Mississippi River, which don't even make no sense.
Yeah, we got them down in the dirty old Baton Rouge, baby. Or wherever we are, I don't know, peppers.
Baton Rouge, you know what we got? We got 6 peppers for $1, 12 peppers for 50 cents.
Who cares about the money?
These are
spicy.
They're spicy. We're going to eat 2 of them right here, right
now.
Here
we go. Cheers.
1, 2, 3.
Cheers.
Oh, shit fire!
Peppers.
Peppers are fucking hot.
Yeah, peppers.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I had a pepper just then.
Oh my God.
Are you good? Oh, man. I guess it's just me now. Peppers. Pepper got him. Got him by the pepper. Hey, come on down and get your peppers. They're hot, spicy, freaking good as hell. Peppers.
Welcome back, everybody, from the pepper commercial.
Peppers. It happened. I said peppers like 18 times in that.
That's good.
That was a good one. Yeah. Yo, what's up? Scooby Doo, Zombie Island. I almost said Monster Island. I feel like, what is the first?
Monsters Unleashed.
Monsters Unleashed. Is that the first IRL movie that they did, or is that the second one? That's the second one?
Yeah.
What is the first one called?
I think it was just what was it called? It was like Monster. It was something on an island.
Something Island, yeah. And that's why I keep getting confused. And honestly, even if you look up Zombie Island, sometimes the other one pops up.
Yeah.
Because it's also on an island.
It's like monsters on the theme park island.
There are also some similarities between those two movies, though, that I actually did want to point out. The main one that I want to bring up is just the way the two movies begin. You have the gang together. They're solving a crime just like old times. They unmask somebody. It's some dude in a mask who's trying to terrify people for a treasure or whatever it is. And then they split up. And in both movies, they split up. They have a little bit of a time jump. And then you have present day. And in this movie, the difference is in the IRL movie, they split up because they're pissed off. They're mad at each other, like Fred's taking claim for coming up with the plan or whatever that was Velma's plan. And Daphne, everybody just thinks she's a damsel in distress, and she was, in the beginning, and then later on she learns kung fu, and that's a big part of her character arc or whatever in that movie. But in this, basically they just get bored. They're just tired of solving mysteries, and it's just a guy in the mask. And
which I don't blame them.
No, I don't either.
It's like, is it a guy in a mask? Like, you don't need us to figure that out. And
they're basically on tour. It's like a band that never stops touring. They're just constantly going around living out of the van and solving. I mean, what happens at night? Like, do they just crash, at hotels? We never know that about the Scooby Doo gang.
It was the 60s, bro.
I feel like they have to have money though, because in the second IRL movie, they have like a big home base or whatever. I could be mistaken on what that was, but
did you notice that they split up in this one, and then they all have like jobs that they, relatively like. Velma doesn't really like her job, but
that are like almost perfect for all of them.
Yeah, like Fred's like simping over Daphne.
Dude,
hard.
Super simp Fred. It
was like, and my guy that like runs my show for me, Fred, and Fred's like waving over there, and it's
he's like in love with me.
So hard, man.
He will never leave my side.
Regardless, they're both crushing it. Velma's running her bookshop, which she said she doesn't like as much as solving mysteries, but it's pretty much a great fit for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Shaggy and Scooby are just working TSA.
Yeah.
In the what is it? Like, you can't bring food to our country claims, so they can eat all the food. And I was like, how fitting are all of these jobs for their characters?
Dude,
so
Scooby
good.
and Shaggy's job it's amazing.
Has
for them.
to be
they're
one
custom
of the best
agents,
jobs.
and they're sniffing out foreign foods or whatever, drugs, and then they consume all the food,
and they get
fired.
Yeah.
And fortunately, Freddy's trying to surprise Daphne for her birthday and get the gang back together and go find a real mystery. But the Scooby Doo and Shaggy, their job as custom agents is like almost perfect for them.
Yeah. But aside from getting caught, is like the perfect job for them.
It was,
for sure.
Yeah.
Which again, if you think about a total stoner being like the best place to go get like all your weed would be from the, from the police station where they store all the stolen weed.
Yeah, you definitely get fired doing that, I guess. But yeah, man, some things we talked a lot about, kind of the problems we saw. Some things I thought that this movie does really well: design, tone, tempo, depth. Like, there are a lot of little elements, risks. I think this movie takes a lot of risks for the Scooby Doo franchise.
In what ways?
Well, for one, the monsters are real.
Yeah.
Like, they would have never done that in the past, and part of I know they actually, from doing research, that they almost didn't do real monsters. They were almost going to do like an hour of like leading you on to believe the monster is real, and then it's a guy in a mask.
But you were kind of waiting for that to happen in this movie, which I think is a little bit of the genius of it. A little bit of like a risk, but it captured everybody at the end. And they like, if nothing had come out from Scooby Doo in a while, and this was a big deal, then they made it a big deal. They made it like we came across some real ass voodoo,
And it was spooky. Like, it's like actually dark. Like, you don't get dark Scooby Doo movies, and I think that's another risk that they took doing this. They have fleshed out villains and motive. The villains have legit motives, and you kind of feel for them. Like, after you hear the story from Simone and Lena, you kind of like, man, like, they didn't plan on being cat ladies. They just were like praying to their cat god, and their cat
Mistake
god
number one
to curse, the Moonscar or whatever. And then they got cursed themselves, and then from then on out, like, if they wanted to stay alive on the harvest moon or whatever, they had to kill people, which sucks, but like, it wasn't their desire. They just wanted to protect their friends and family.
They weren't going to be immortal anyway. So if you were like, okay, my plan was not ever to be immortal, and the cat gods were like, well, you have to consume the souls of people to become immortal. Like, they could have just been like,
I'm not saying they're
involved. Cat people.
They're not good people for what they're doing. I'm just saying, like, you can kind of understand where they're coming from. You get their motives, and like, they are humanized a lot more than most villains in Scooby Doo movies are humanized. Yeah, and then also like the gang themselves were built out more. You know, you really got to know what Daphne's all about, and you got to see her not be the damsel, and she goes and she's, I'm going to unmask this guy.
Wasn't like a damsel in distress in this movie.
Dude,
I did like that.
She karate threw, one of the zombies a couple of times, like she's awesome in this movie. And you get to see, Fred's a simp, but like Fred's character is fleshed out a whole lot more. And you see a little bit more of the dynamic of Fred and Daphne where they both find a crush on the island, sort of a thing. And
yeah, I thought that was about it. The crush part was a very half-baked.
It was. And also
part of the movie.
Does Velma end up with Bo? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it was like very ambiguous at the end.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe they left it that way, that like, yeah, Daphne doesn't always get the cute guy like that. Yeah. Give Velma the credit there. But
yeah,
all right, you're gonna hate me for saying this though, as we're diving into characters that most punchable, it's gotta be Fred for me.
Is he?
Yeah, because it was just at some point, like right in the middle.
He's just less sexy than Bo, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, but like in the worst way possible, because we talked about like, okay, it kind of bugged me. He's like simping. He's working for Daphne, which is fine. But like when he's like, just all the way he delivers his lines is like, wowzers, there must be a treasure.
Yeah, it's like,
and I was like, dude, shut up.
It's the Captain America thing in that movie where he just became this like, he's an old lame guy, so we're all going to pick on him. Like Fred just is, and honestly, this is my problem with Fred's character and almost everything is that like they're so afraid to do like a strong leader Fred character, who's also like smart and like reliable, that they always play his characteristics down, and he just ends up being this dumb sidekick character or whatever, punching bag kind of a guy.
Yeah,
and he was that in this movie a little bit.
Yeah, and that's fine, but like, I mean, it's still he's the most punchable easily.
Okay,
and then like the treasure, he did have one funny moment that in the movie, and I don't know if you caught this one, maybe
not.
That when they were getting ready for dinner.
Yeah,
and Shaggy was like, "Should I wear a clean shirt and trim my beard?"
Oh, and he puts the green,
and he puts just a green shirt on and trims up like 2 hairs off his chin. Then it flips to Fred in the other room.
Such a great moment,
and it's really funny. He actually puts on an orange ascot, and then goes, "Nah."
Oh,
and
really?
Throws it off, and I was like, that was like a funny little nod to like his old outfit,
Oh, that's great. Dude, that's so funny. They've gone through some weird outfit changes throughout the years. Like, there's another direct-to-DVD movie, the one with the cyber.
It was like Cyber World
or whatever. When they're basically in the video game, and you get to see the like alternate versions of them, and they're all wearing their alternate outfits or whatever. And Shaggy's got the red on. That was always really confusing for me as a kid. But yeah, man, that's so funny. I didn't pick up on that. That was a good scene. I also wanted to just mention, like, as we're getting into this movie, like you had Jock do a very classic bit of just like, people never come back from that island, like he kind of warns them in the, what is it? Oh, it's right here. People go into the bayou and they don't ever come out.
Amos Moses.
Yeah. And then I think my most punchable character we kind of saw right after that, it might be Snake Bites.
Yeah. Well, dude, besides a red herring, he served no purpose in this movie.
Yeah. Mark Hamill.
I know. Like doing Creole Mark Hamill.
Yeah. The only reason we chose this movie is because Mark Hamill's in it.
We're only picking Mark Hamill movies at this point.
Well, I guess Shrek was it.
I hope,
is he in that?
I hope we like read through the credits of Shrek one day and like Mark Hamill voiced a frog for like 2 lines or something.
Yeah. He's just after Big Mona, and there's no real payoff other than one of the better jokes when Shaggy falls into
best line of the episode.
Is that it for you?
That's it. Yeah. I know what you're about to say.
What is it? You say it then.
Man, we were chased into a hole by 1/3 of a BLT.
That is such a good moment.
I was like that. No, I like was watching. I was like, that's easily the best. Like you said, there's not a ton of like comic relief.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of. This is not a comedy movie.
No,
but like if you just threw
that's
more
a good one.
lines in there like that, I was like, that's clutch, man.
Well, Fred for me had one too and it wasn't really supposed to be comedy, but basically they go in there. I don't want to just recount the whole movie because people hopefully watched it when they're listening to this. And they have the get out, beware thing in the kitchen, which also Velma goes in there is just like, no authority. This isn't her house.
Rips up the freaking wall.
Destroys the kitchen with the spatula.
She's just like, hold on, let me just.
Yeah.
And again, that's, I guess, the humanity of the villains in this movie. They were like, why are you destroying my kitchen?
What are you doing to my kitchen? Or what? I can't even. I don't.
You're going
sorry,
like Transylvanian on me.
Why did I try that?
You have to go French with it. What are you doing in my kitchen?
I'm incapable.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, she tears up the kitchen, and of course the kitchen's built by Moonscar's pirate ship a little bit. But anyways, Fred is looking at the film, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we can see what caused the writing," because he literally got it on film. They're like writing occurring for the beware because it just said "get out" and then beware. And he says, "Let me darken the image a little." Bring up the sharpness, and then you see the ghost.
And there's a full image of a ghost.
Is that how that works? It's like Moonscar's ghost is there. I need to get in touch with my camera people.
100% bullshit.
Videographers out there, hit us up and let us know.
Can you sharpen images on ghosts?
Darken the image a little first, and then bring up the sharpness. Do you see ghosts? Because there's a lot of haunted shows out there that are missing out. If that's all you got to do,
that's all you got to do.
There should be proof of ghosts. Me and my girlfriend have talks about our thoughts on ghosts all the time just because she's from Louisiana.
She's from Louisiana.
From the bayou.
I had another question about an inconsistency I may have picked up on and I may not have just understood what was happening.
Okay.
And it has to do with the zombies themselves because definitely they were all just ghosty boys before Scooby and Shaggy fell in the pit and accidentally dig up his actual skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when he comes, or, Monster Moonshine comes up,
Monster
Moonshine.
Bayabas.
And I had...
So I think the idea, before you even ask your question, is that the zombies pop up like that every harvest moon. So every time it's feeding time for whenever the magic is in the air, they come back awake in order to try and help whoever is about to be a victim of the cat people.
So that makes more sense on just like why he would be awake. The second thing, though, is that they don't all come awake at the same time.
Yeah.
So if Moonscar woke up like at that point, why wouldn't all the other zombies wake up at that point? And then there's two other times where
storyline. It's good for the storyline.
Yeah, Shaggy and Scooby eat the peppers and then they go stick their head in the lake. And then there's like a gust of wind and then more zombies come out of the lake. And then there's another point like 10 minutes later where they're like running somewhere else and another green thing comes up and more zombies. And I was like, why is it coming in waves like this? It makes no sense.
Well, let me just theoretically speak for a moment. Theoretically speaking. I think the reason that's happening is because as the moon is rising, as we're getting closer to midnight, the moon is hitting those spots. And this is just total BS, but the moon is hitting those spots directly versus indirectly, blocked by trees or blocked by whatever. Yeah. And I think it's just kind of that. I mean, obviously it's just for writing of the movie, but and the significance of the plot. But my guess would be that the harvest moon has a hit in a specific particular way for your ghosts to zombify you or whatever you want to call it.
That makes sense. It bugged me a little bit because I was like, if they all woke up at once, then they could have just gotten to the end point a lot quicker. Being like, oh yeah, there are definitely zombies on this island. Not like, oh, just two of them chased us and then they're gone. They're lying. Maybe there's not zombies.
Well, we're running around, right? And we've got a great montage, terror time again and whatnot. And this could be before or after it, but we have our first failed unmasking by the Scooby Doo gang. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were when Daphne goes and realizes it's a real mask. Like, what was your reaction to that? Because I mean, for me, it was like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
they're always fake. And all of a sudden,
that was great. Real. They just rip his head off, and then he like screws it right back on. I thought that was phenomenal.
Did you see it coming though? Like, was it just way too obvious?
Yeah, no, I saw it coming.
Okay, dang.
Like
All right.
I saw, like if they didn't have the scene where like you watched a spirit like enter Moonscar's body. Now, if they just had like a zombie pop up, kind of out of nowhere,
Just Moonscar only, maybe.
yeah, just Moonscar only, and he
Yeah.
just like came out of the water or something, then I would have believed that maybe
Would've been
you
more
could have unmasked somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
And then even after you could have unmasked one person, and then there could have been real zombies later.
See,
I think that again, if would have been great to be like, oh, we figured it out, and then more zombies come up, but those ones were real.
There are little things like that makes me. I mean, I looked at Rotten Tomatoes has this at an 88%, and then IMDb has it at a 7.8 out of 10.
Yeah,
And there are little things like that make me go, I don't know if it's that good of writing. Like the writing's pretty dang good.
A pretty hefty Rotten Tomatoes score too.
People just like this movie. I really love this movie, but
I need to see an age demographic of the audience score on this one.
They all grew up with it.
Yeah, they were all like,
it is.
Every one of them was 8 years old when this movie came out.
Yeah, perfect time. And they're all Scooby Doo fans like me. I don't know, man. But yeah, the first failed unmasking was really interesting to me. I just feel like that's such a pivotal moment and so risky for Scooby Doo to just like, let's take a chance and do it. I really love that. And then an issue I did have, I'll say though, and I think you did too, was the voodoo dolls came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was, well, at least the voodoo, I gave them credit because they were in Louisiana, and that's a huge like Louisiana.
Okay.
Like,
I guess I didn't think about that.
Voodoo culture in like Louisiana is a big thing. So,
but where did they get the magic wax?
Yeah,
that's the biggest. I think my biggest issue with this entire movie is that other than the cat god, magic wax, they just happen to have it, and they only have a limited supply, so they can't make magic wax voodoo dolls for Shaggy and Scooby because, and I'll quote this from the movie: "A waste of time and magic wax. It's not worth it." They didn't think there'd be a problem. Clearly, they haven't watched, 100 episodes of Scooby Doo. Where are you? Where
clearly they don't know.
Scooby and Shaggy just fall into, unmasking the villain all the time after Fred's plans fall through. I thought that was so funny. And so it's like, yeah, how do you have magic wax? And also, where does the cat god come from? Is my other big question.
Yeah, Cat God's a little bit more of a loose end than because Magic Wax could be like, yeah, they're Louisiana people, and Jacques brings them whatever from the mainland on the boat. Well, I don't know
if Magic Wax and Cat Gods, like in this, we're seeing a lot of real things. If that's the truth in this universe, do you think the gang converts after this movie?
Converts it to voodooism?
Oh, to Cat God.
To Cat God.
Because clearly that is the god of this universe, is Cat God. Because
clearly that is some spirit. Well, and then
they literally become cat people from praying to the cat god. Like maybe there's other gods in this universe, but like
question a lot of things.
But it's certainty. Like they literally
Russell,
it's all
the devil. It's all just the devil.
Maybe it is the devil acting like a cat god, but they literally they have a cat god that they know about. Why don't they just? I don't know. I feel like maybe the gang converts. Out of the gang, who converts? That's what I really want to know.
Oh, Shaggy and Scooby, 100%.
Yeah, they probably do.
They'd be like, "Oh, snipes, man! Maybe we'll go get some Scooby snacks, but they're cat food instead."
Fred would if Daphne converts.
Fred would follow Daphne.
Yeah, Fred
whatever
would follow
she chooses.
Daphne. Yeah, or maybe if Lena wasn't evil. Come over here.
Come over here.
Mommy boy.
Well, and then with the weird thing at the very end, because like remember when I mentioned earlier when I said it ends kind of abruptly almost, with this like a lot of lead up and a lot of moments in the movie that are very like filler moments. Like there's a whole scene when Velma's looking behind the mirror and she's like, "Where's my glasses wipe?" And then Scooby like breathes on it and wipes it. And I was like, that's a whole like 20 seconds of this
just
movie.
Wasting time.
Just wasting time. And then they get to the end and it's like the cat people had,
the ending's rushed a little bit.
The shortest window of time. And the only way they defeat them is they literally just like push them twice. And then they
stalled.
They stalled.
Yeah, they
to
just
beat
stalled.
them. And like not even a long stall. Like They
you
got
got
up
to eat
once.
before midnight. And I guess you turn into them. I think, sorry, I'm jumping again. I'm cutting you off a little bit. I think the cat people could have turned in the cat people earlier, which Jock kind of did.
I think they could, yeah.
If they are, and I think Jock might have had a hat on. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch this, but I think they could have turned into it like whenever the zombies were coming up and about. If the moonlight hit them, they could have been cat people earlier on, but instead they wanted to be dramatic, and they're like, they're not going to go anywhere. We got voodoo dolls, and we don't care about Shaggy and Scooby, and the zombies aren't going to be able to penetrate this, without the help of like Shaggy and Scooby.
Well, and that's the funny thing is like it was just a hole in the ground. How Shaggy and Scooby got in there?
Yeah, they just fell into the emergency exit essentially. Yeah. But the zombies weren't going to get into the house. They weren't going to know
that. Yeah.
So essentially, it was just kind of like, here's the spot. We have this. The moonlight will shine through on our whatever the old fashioned time.
The moon dial.
Moon dial. Thank you. Sundial. Yeah, and then they'll turn into cat people and eat them real fast or suck out, because it takes like 5 seconds.
Yeah, and I was like, if you have like literally a 30-second window of time where you can do this, I would have been a little bit more concerned. I wouldn't have been like flaunting, like walking around the room, telling my story, doing all this stuff. I'd have been like hyper focused. Like I'm about to lose my immortality.
They just do that classic bad guy thing
like,
where they need
let me tell you my
cred.
whole plot story and like waste time, and then just enough time for the heroes to come in.
They just, I think people that do bad things sometimes just feel like they're not going to get cred from it unless, they
they're not going to be able to justify it unless they tell their story.
Yeah, it's justifying, or it's like, I'm doing this thing, but no one knows about it. So let me like tell you before you die so I can feel your reaction, and that happens. Yeah, makes sense. But they stall, and the zombies essentially help them kill out the cat people.
Yeah, and my last thing too was when, was it Daphne who's like, no, Scooby, Shaggy, the zombies are the good guys. And I was like, we don't necessarily know that either. Like,
yeah, that was a little bit of an assumption.
These could be very angry zombies.
But they were the good guys, though.
And maybe the zombies, they were like, maybe if we scare them, they'll leave. But also the zombie, we learned the ghost could talk, and the ghost was like, get out.
Yeah.
And when they evaporate into heaven or whatever, he's like, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't they just tell them and be like, they're evil.
They're
like,
cat people.
They could have just said it. They could have just told them.
Maybe not all zombies are created equal, and some of them can actually speak in English and others can't.
I wish it was like a background zombie of one of the tourists, like not chasing Scooby and Shaggy, but just like taking pictures with their camera, just like zombie taking pictures with their camera.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the zombies just needed to help them, or felt like the only way they could. I mean, obviously, the only way that they could find peace was if the cat people die. And so the way they try and do that is by scaring away people. And maybe if they wouldn't appear spooky, if they were just like, hey, man, you got to leave. And then people would just be like, yeah, whatever, but instead they go, rawr, get out of here.
Yeah, we don't know what they've done for hundreds of years.
Yeah, I'm sure they've tried everything.
They've tried every move in the book to try and get people to leave. We're not giving the zombies credit, Russell. Come on.
The zombies walk up to the people that come on. So can I tell you the good word? Have you heard about your Lord and Savior? I'll get out of here.
Oh man,
I'm
that's
sorry,
good.
God.
No, I'm having like watching it a second time helped a ton because it let me process. Like I said, there's a lot going on. It let me process things.
Man,
and it got me to these points of like, these are the right things to be questioning. And I'm glad that I feel like we're very much on the same level of like, this didn't quite make sense.
Yeah, some of it's goofy, but I think this is just a really fun, enjoyable movie. And,
I know.
And I think it's
Spooktoberfest right now.
Man. It's Halloween. I wish we were more spooky this episode, but that's okay.
I don't think we're very scary people regardless. So
nah, never really tried to be. Ned, how many Scooby snacks are you giving this movie out of 10? I
would give this one, and I'm being harsh because I watch a lot of movies. I'm a movie buff. I would maybe give this one 6 to 6.5 Scooby snacks for me, though.
Okay, I think as a like direct to DVD movie, that's all right.
Yeah, like it stacks up. Like if we're talking about it compared to like a Disney Channel original movie, like this was significantly done better than many of those, and I consider that in the same realm of kind of like straight to DVD stuff.
Cool.
But when it stacks up against like my Halloween scary movies, like funny scary movies, I think a 6 for me is like generous. You know?
Oh man. All
6.5 is generous, I should say.
All right. Well, I mean, for what it's worth, I'm giving it 7.5 Scooby Snacks out of 10. I think it's a great movie. I think nostalgically, it's all there for me, and I love the risks that it takes. But I don't think it's necessarily, like you're saying, the best movie ever. But if you like Scooby Doo, or if you're looking for something like to watch with the kids, like I think it's a great movie for that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I can't talk right now. We'll watch it again next year, and I probably will give it more Scooby Snacks next year because it has that whole like it's in the mood for Halloween, and this is a movie I've seen before, and it's comforting and cozy. Like just like Hocus Pocus, I actually watched that for the first time last year, and I was like, this movie's not as good as everybody says. And come at me with that, because I think a lot of people watched it growing up. It just has that Halloween season.
I think I feel the same way.
You know?
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. I never really watched it as a kid.
I didn't either. And it, like when people hyped it up, I was like super hyped up to watch it last year. And I was like, this didn't live up to the hype at all.
Oh,
like,
man. That's rough.
I know. Besides great acting, but for a Disney Channel movie.
Something on the same vein as this, like if you're looking for that spooky thing, but not too spooky with the kids. What is that Disney show with the Uncle Stan and they're in the woods and it's related to Rick and Morty?
It was Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls is a great one for
another
like
one
Halloween,
in the Adventure Time, not in universe, but the Adventure Time vibe. Over the Garden Wall, phenomenal show.
I've heard about that.
Watched it last year around this time, and scored beautifully. Animation's beautiful. So that fits right in that realm of like let's get Spooktober over here.
Man, I'm ready for it. I'm so excited for Halloween. I don't know. I haven't looked at when this episode's coming out, but it'll be right before.
Yeah, it should
Halloween.
be. I think it should be the week before. So,
that's so good. Spooky season, y'all. We're in it.
Spook.
Get your costumes ready. Go trick or treat if you're over 16.
Break the rules.
Break the rules. Rules are for adults.
Yeah,
you're not an adult unless you give into society standards. Blah.
Yeah, screw society standards.
Also, if you want more Scooby Doo Zombie Island, I highly recommend. There's a really great YouTube video by a creator named Savage Books. I checked it out before doing this podcast a couple of days ago and really loved it. It's called Throwback Breakdown Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, a dark masterpiece. And dives into some of the similar things that we talked about tonight, but like it's obviously, it's scripted and a lot more just like
line for line kind of thing.
Line for line. Yeah. But I really liked it. It's totally different thing than what we just did, but it's good. And I just felt like I needed to shout it out because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It gets you in the mood, man. Again, like
it does.
I love overanalyzing things. So the more people that do it, the better.
Yeah, sorry for the sporadic nature of this episode, but that
was great. I had a blast.
I enjoyed it. I definitely had higher energy this episode than I expected to. But y'all, thank you so much. Next episode's going to be
season 2.
Season 2, Let's episode
go.
1.
That's what we want.
That's what Neb wants, and I'm here for it. I'm just kidding.
And we start off with Marceline because it's even better.
And I'm in.
And you're in. And that means Marceline's probably going to release the Tuesday after Halloween, which is perfect.
Oh man, even if she was before Halloween, Marceline's nice and spooky.
Nice and spooks. And we get her dad, who's basically the devil.
Good. Well, we'll dive real deep into that one.
Deep into that one.
Yeah, whenever that episode comes out, we'll probably record that next week. I'm excited. Y'all go check us out and review us on Apple Podcasts and all that good stuff. Instagram, Never Ending Adventure Podcast. TikTok, Never Ending Adventure Cast. Twitter, NEA_podcast. Email us, please. Give us some stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Ask us questions. Send us clips.
Yeah.
Love it.
NEA.travelersvlog, not vlog, at gmail.com. And y'all just get in the spooky mood and enjoy some Scooby Doo.
Enjoy the Scooby Doo. Enjoy the season. And we'll see you guys later. Love you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.